Awesome. Thanks, Audrey. And if you haven't had a chance yet, let us know what your favorite thing about fall in South Carolina is. Mine's definitely that there's not as much humidity down here in the low country. All right. Well, again, welcome. It's 3:30, so we will begin. Okay, so welcome to our third book talk session. We hope you have had a wonderful 2 weeks since we've seen you last, and you've been able to extend some conversations surrounding MTSS in your districts and your schools based on the information that you're reading about in this text, and also with the discussions we're having as a book study group. So we're going to begin our session like we do each time with our SEL check-in, so that way we can get to know one another, identify with our emotions, and increase our engagement. So today, our social and emotional check-in activity is called I Am. And in just a few moments, I'll ask you to take out a piece of paper, or you can open up like a digital document on your computer to type in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the timer for 2 minutes. And during those 2 minutes, I want you to make a list all about you. I want you to start each phrase on that list with I am. And so as you can see, there's some examples on the right-hand side of this slide of some I am statements. And while you're creating this list, be sure to include things that you identify with, that resonate with you, that you love and care about. So your I am phrases could be adjectives, they could be nouns, people, or even places. So with that being said, are there any questions before I start the 2-minute timer? Okay, take out that notebook paper or open that digital document and write for this entire 2 minutes, those I am statements. Okay, go ahead and begin to bring your writing to a close. Now I want you to read back through your list of I am phrases, and I want you to star the phrases that feel most important to you. So go ahead and do that now. Read back through them and star the phrases that feel most important to you. Okay, so now when you have a few starred phrases, we'd love for you to share some in the chat. So head over to the chat, maybe pick a few of them to share with the group. Go ahead and do that now. Oh, here they come. Yeah, and take a minute just to scroll through and read about those in this group. Oh, I love this. Giving, helpful, learner, resourceful, mother, wife, friend, teacher, coach, mountain lover, dedicated, not a quitter, caring, nurturing, authentic, helpful, a dog mom, always learning, spiritual, hardworking, patient. I love these. Compassionate, a prayer warrior, loved, whole, an educator. Great, well, keep them coming. And thank you so much for sharing what's important to you. And always make sure you keep in mind those important parts of who you are. So activities like this one align to that CASEL competency of social emotional skills. And as a reminder, the South Carolina Department of Education has embraced this CASEL model for the integration of SEL in South Carolina schools. And we have the website again on this slide, casel.org. And we also have our South Carolina Department of Education website, which is sel.ed.sc.gov. And both of these websites are filled with research and guidance and tools for educators in school communities. And just as another reminder, we're your facilitators. And as always, please feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions regarding MTSS and the implementation of MTSS in your district or schools. Okay, so in preparation for our discussion today, please have available your MTSS book, a writing utensil, notebook paper, Post-its if you have them nearby. You should have read chapter 3 prior to this session and use the triangle, circle, square protocol to reflect on your reading. You may also want to have your digital agenda open so that way you can access all the needed links for today. And on your screen are our norms. So please keep your microphone muted when you're not speaking. Always add questions or comments to the chat throughout the discussion. And if you're comfortable and if it's possible, we ask that you turn your camera on.
Okay, and as a reminder, we ask that all participants adhere to our virtual meeting norms. So be present by having your cameras turned on when you're able to do so, and try to eliminate any distractions that may take away from your ability to get the most out of our time together. Also, we ask that you share airtime when speaking to allow others' voice to be heard in the conversation. But all of you have been doing that wonderfully, and we've had some fantastic conversations the last few sessions. The feedback we've gotten really emphasizes how much you're all enjoying this platform and being able to hear from one another from across the state. So keep sharing your ideas. And then we ask that you just actively listen, respect one another's ideas, and be sure to support your ideas by drawing connections back to the text. Okay, so in chapter 3, the author highlighted 5 purposes for the use of data within MTSS. And those 5 purposes are listed on the slide. We're now going to pop over to Mentimeter, which is just another digital tool that may be useful in your roles or in your schools, so that you can share with one another which of the 5 purposes for the use of data really resonated with you. And then after that, we'll do a second question of which of these 5 purposes would you like to enhance within your MTSS model. So you can go to Menti by clicking on the digital link within your agenda and typing in the code. You can also use your phone or some other digital device and scan the QR code, and it will pop up right away. So I'll give a couple seconds just to do either one of those. And then I'll go to our screen where we can see everyone's responses. Okay. Let me pop over there. Oops. So right now you should be able to see which of the 5 purposes resonated with you within your current MTSS model and how we are breaking down as a whole group. Let me turn it back on. And it looks like we have about 29 people in our group. So we can see down here in the corner how many have put in their response. Would anyone like to unmute and then just share around this reason here for data to identify what practices are currently in place and how well they are implemented in an ongoing process? We have quite a few that are in this area. Feel free to unmute and share your extended thinking there.
This one kind of resonated with me because I think a lot of times we are quick to say that a program doesn't work or we have too many things to do. And I like that this is kind of a check of what we have and knowing how well it's being used before we make it that kind of statement or assumption. I think with technology, we have the opportunity to have a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that we're using them well.
Anyone else like to share? Maybe one of the other 2 categories? All right.
I put down to assess continuous student growth on a regular schedule. This resonates with me because we actually have math interventionists working with tier 3 students. So they're doing targeted intervention with the targeted program. So when I was thinking of that question, I was really thinking about what are we pretty good at? Right now, we're pretty good at assessing and looking at continuous student growth. That's the way I was taking it. So when I see your next question, that's where I would say, what do I feel like we need to work on?
Yeah, let's pop over there to that one. So thinking of those same 5 purposes, which one would you like to enhance in your current MTSS structures? As we finish getting these last few votes, anyone want to unmute here and share around how your thinking's changed for what resonated versus what you would like to enhance?
Audrey, I chose to identify what practices are currently in place and how well they are implemented in an ongoing process. I'm working more with the secondary interventionist. So it's because a lot of the positions are new at the secondary level. Some of the practices are just being put into place. So just kind of going back to see if there's that consistency across all of the areas in the schools would be something that would be helpful for this area.
I concur with Dr. Houston because I work in the same district and at the elementary level. That's one thing that I want to make sure too, that just as, especially tier 2 intervention being in place, that there's consistency, fidelity across the district using best practices.
And Dr. Houston, I appreciate that, just how you guys are taking this into middle and high school. You know, so much emphasis has been placed in the elementary levels right now. And so to be little pioneers in middle and high is, you know, those are big steps. So we really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing what you've learned out of it and how that can help other districts around the state.
Thank you. We definitely want to see them grow and continue to grow through their trajectory.
Okay.
Just kidding. I tried to talk with the mute on. That is not going to work. All right. So now we're going to shift to our discussion portion in our breakout room. So in chapter 3, the authors highlight 5 purposes for the use of data within MTSS. So when we, and then for our breakout discussion room today, we'll use the triangle, circle, square protocol that we introduced last time and that you used during your individual read of chapter 3. And in your breakout groups, you will follow the triangle, which is your talk to your team about the important points that you recorded from reading the chapter. And then the circle was, you'll discuss the wonderings or things that rolled around in your head as you read. And then of course the square, and you'll discuss the information presented in chapter 3 that squares or is aligned to your current beliefs. So this time we're asking that each group identifies a facilitator, a person who will pace the discussion, the timekeeper who will ensure that everyone returns to the whole group on time, and a speaker who will share their group's highlight and connections and questions afterwards. If you need this protocol, you can find it on the link on our digital agenda today. And then if we go to the next slide. So similar to our last meeting, we will sign up for our breakout groups. You may have already done so at the beginning of the session. If you have not done so yet, please take a minute to go to the breakout room sign up document that is linked on the digital agenda. And then you'll sign up for one of the rooms by typing your name in that list. And then when Audrey pushes the button, you'll join that group. So we will return, let's see, it is 3:48 now. So we will return, it looks like at like 3 after.
And will one of the facilitators let me know how many rooms are signed up for right now? We have a smaller number than originally planned, so I want to make sure that we don't end up with people in one room or one person in a room.
And it looks like we probably only need rooms 1 through 6, maybe.
Okay. All right. Well, then I will go ahead and gonna open all rooms. It is set so that you should be able to choose your room. So we're gonna cross our fingers because I thought I did that last time. So here we go.
Looks like it's working, Audrey.
Oh, love it when technology follows through.
I hope I'm not speaking too soon, but I think it's.
Hey, it's Robin. I don't have the choice.
That's right.
I'm with Melanie. I think it's room 5.
Room 5, okay.
And Robin, okay, let's see. You want to go to number 5. Robin assigned to number 5. All right. Ms. Bostic, is there a room that you would like to join?
It looks like she's in room 4. It looks on the sign in.
Okay. Well, I'll just pop her over there.
Yes, I signed up for room 4. Okay.
All right. How about Ms. Boyd?
Hi, I just sent you a message. I'm actually dealing with the situation at my school, so I'm gonna be in and out. So I can join any room, but you probably want to put me in a room where there are multiple people. So if I have to skedaddle, there'll still be other people who can continue the conversation.
Okay. And her team is in breakout room 4, Audrey.
Okay, I'll do that. Jay Lee? And Delaney.
I thought I signed up. Let me look again.
You may have gotten an invite to join a room then.
Let me see. Oh, I signed up on the agenda. Maybe not.
It's okay if you don't have to worry about filling it out. If there's just a certain one you'd like to join, I can pop you in there.
Just pop me in any of them. I don't care.
Put you over there. All right.
Okay, thanks.
There's a Miss Clark. And okay, I will put these last friends in 6 and we'll go from there.
I didn't get my little pop-up thing for breakout rooms.
No? All right, where do you want to go?
I've not bounced around. I've been in room 5, but usually that little pop-up thing comes up.
Yeah.
It's on your toolbar on the bottom.
Yeah, I don't know why it didn't come up this time. Normally it comes up, or it has been coming up anyway. Oh, maybe it's under more. Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, sorry, I have an emergency that just occurred. Okay.
Hey, Audrey,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking at like 1 after, we give them a 1-minute warning and we bring them back maybe like a minute early.
Okay, so 1 minute after I give them 1
Yeah.
minute. Okay.
Yeah,
All right, thank you, because I
just in case we need the 1 minute, I'm just buffering a minute.
yeah.
As long as we give them a 1 minute warning, because then they'll get, I don't know, when I'm in breakout groups, I need all the time.
Yeah, I think I set it on a 30 seconds left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right.
No one ever signs up underneath me because none of my schools are on here.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm gonna pop into my room.
all right. I think I'm gonna go to number 3. Okay.
To trying to make action steps toward that. So let's talk about the things that are rolling around in your head.
Okay, so I was just thinking, as I was reading, I was thinking about working under principals who were data driven and my first experience with that. And so I remember I was about to start a position. I was coming to look into the school before I began, and the principal took me into this room where he had data walls. And I was overwhelmed. Like it was just data from every single, but what made me embrace it was how he simplified it and made it an accountability piece. So like every teacher was accountable for their big chart sheet of their data. And so it made it less overwhelming. So I think, Alicia, what rolled around in my head was just how can it be less overwhelming to a teacher? Instead, embrace it. How can we embrace it? And I think the most important thing would be just to simplify it. It doesn't, I'm thinking about Read 180, and I need to know how can I grow them? Like, as far as a classroom teacher, I need to know how I can grow them, my kids. I don't really need to know what their norms, reference data points are for. I just need to know how I can do it.
Definitely getting what you know. And I think that's a disconnect in education. We have those who kind of feel like they're good at data, and then we have those raw numbers. But when it comes to what's going on in the classroom, that we have to make sure that the data experts or the geniuses with data are giving it to the classroom educators in a way that it can be useful and really going to a professional development or what have you, a PLC, and just looking at data does not help anyone. Yes, we looked at the data, but I need to, as a classroom teacher, make sure that it's something that they can say, oh, this is what I need to do in my lesson plans. This is what I need to do in my instruction. If not, we're wasting time.
I'm thinking about
learning
a school. Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just thinking about a school I was at, and the teachers are looking at various data, and it was very broad. We got a lot of students below grade level. There's a lot in the red. And so the principal was really like, nope, we need to tighten this up. So we ended up starting getting a sentence frame of, I see blank % in not met or whatever. That means blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. We had to break it down and in order for teachers to be able to analyze the data. And if it's not something they're used to doing, that is a challenge. It is kind of makes it scary.
And when you say the scary part, the one thing that was rolling around in my head and it's on page 37, it takes courage to act on our values and examine the data regularly. And it does, because you're looking at things that you hold dear to you, as well as what are your next steps in terms of the data, not just what you hold dear, but what are next steps. And that is a courageous thing to endure and to do it regularly, because if it's not done regularly, then you're not going to make the progress that you need to make. And so that's something that it's not like I disagree, but it just rolled right. That's something to remember when I'm looking at data and communicating in regards to data, as well as helping someone else synthesize information.
Excellent. I think I could talk to you all day, but what squares with your beliefs from this chapter?
Mine was one of the things that was stated in the 3 most important points. Data should not be used to punish. I think that a lot of times that culture is cultivated just in how we use data in general, just in how we identify schools that are non-performing and what is done there. That culture is cultivated in how we do things in education. So it's important that we figure out a way to stop using the data to punish, but use it to build. And one of the things that was a game changer for us as a building level principal was basically teaching the teachers as well as the leadership team exactly what the data meant, as far as we used NWEA map data. So when you have a certain number of variations within your classrooms, as far as the levels are concerned, that means that you definitely need small group instruction in your classrooms. And sometimes at the secondary level, that's a little bit harder concept because they gravitate towards whole groups. So we really had to focus on making sure small group instruction was in place. And the other thing was just not making sure that the data was with the educators, but transcending it down to the students. So students had data notebooks. They did data conferences with their parents. So now that it's all inclusive and it's not just educators walking around talking about data, but everyone who's involved in the data has a piece in it.
If there, that is great, Ms. Houston. If there was a sentence that I could just like blow up, I would have to say it, it's on page 38. It says we have to make sure that any data collected are used to change instruction and not just because they could be interesting. When it comes to education, to me, all roads lead back to instructional practices. So anything that does not change instruction, if we sit in a PLC and we see that our kids are not doing good with geometry or analyzing data, and then next year when it comes to the same unit, you're teaching it the same way, then we're not using, what was the purpose of collecting the data if it does not change your classroom practices?
That's true.
Yeah. I I put a under page 38 under data can be misused. I put this quote that my grandma would always say: "What doesn't come out in the wash will come out in the rinse."
I got kicked out. I couldn't get, first of all, no one's in my room. And then I couldn't leave my room.
Okay, it looks like we are all returning. Wonderful.
Okay, so now we're going to do our usual debrief with our shared discussion using the 3-2-1 protocol. And so speakers, now is your time to shine. So can we have 3 speakers share a highlight from your discussion?
One highlight that I thought was good that Audrey popped into our group, that she talked about when you're thinking about trying to scaffold the information down using sentence frames could be a great way to do that or model that for everyone. I think I wrote down, I see blank in the data. That means blank and I will blank, just to get people on the right track to starting to conceptualize around what they should actually be doing with data. So I really like the sentence frames.
Giving them language that they may not have already. That's awesome. Who else would like to share?
We talked about a lot, just being data rich and making sure that we're taking the time to interpret that data, and just, how data can be misused, like really understanding the intended purpose, and then using multiple data points, which I think we say all the time, but it's, in practice, do we actually do it? And then, and really trying, highlighting the use of bringing together multiple types of data, when you're making decisions, the true core of MTSS. So those were some of our highlights.
Thank you. And one more person, please.
I think we determined that fidelity is definitely the most important that we got from this chapter. You know, implementing everything with fidelity, and sometimes we'll do something really great and then we'll move on to something else, but we really need to continue giving ongoing support. I was thinking about that part in the chapter where it says adequate implementation and fidelity equals increased student achievement. And so we definitely have to give those teachers that needed ongoing support.
Yes, thank you. So now we'd love to take a couple speakers, and let us know the connections from your group. Any connections made, friends?
I think the biggest connection, and I was in group 3, I think the biggest connection was made in regards to bringing it back to individuals in terms of creating a culture where teachers and admin, whoever is looking at and conducting the data analysis, is not feeling intimidated or overwhelmed, but simply at ease of looking at the data in terms of action steps. And so that is resonating in my head of simply that culture, because that simply means that it's an environment where everyone is moving toward a similar goal. So that's one of the connections to that.
I love that, making people feel safe to be vulnerable with their data. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to questions. Any questions that popped up? Okay, since we don't have any questions, we'll move on to the next portion.
So in chapter 3, we identified a connection to domain 4 of the SAM rubric, which is the database problem solving. In other cases, seeing both sets of data will reveal the need for an individualized intervention that includes both the academic and behavior support. And at the same time, it will provide more comprehensive data to judge that intervention's effectiveness. To begin to capitalize on the efficiency and effectiveness of integrated data, we need to build the shared conceptual understanding of data in schools, regardless of the domain of support. So I want you to think about if the tool you are currently using in one content area fulfills the purpose for another content area. And there are multiple tools in this chapter that can support your database problem-solving process. So to help streamline your process, you want to create a database. You may want to create a database problem-solving toolkit.
So this module explains how MTSS integrates RTI with the school-wide PBIS, and it provides examples from Washington State, Mississippi, and Connecticut. I wanted to draw your attention back to the infographic as well. Those videos are located as hotspots on that infographic. Before choosing which video to watch, please assess where you are in domain 4. The assessment should give you guidance as to what your next steps might be. What was the page number after 65 on the last slide?
Page 73.
There you go. And with this particular video, this module presents information on screening, diagnosis, progress monitoring, and outcome assessments, and the characteristics of validity, reliability, utility, and triangulation. Also presented are examples of formative assessments to inform classroom literacy instruction. So we're going to return to our breakout rooms to discuss the variety of the data collection tools that this chapter provided for support. There were many. And in your rooms, so you'll have two questions. Have each person select a data collection tool to highlight, and then discuss how it might be beneficial to your setting and how and why you're going to use, or how and why will you use the selected tool.
Melanie, I think we're going to, this will just be a 10-minute session, breakout session, so that we can ensure that we are wrapping up at 4:30.
All right.
Okay, breakout rooms are open, so you should be able to move right into those. For the friends that are still in here, does that mean that they are stepped away from their computer for right now?
I think so.
Okay. Okay, I will pop back in my room.
You want me to hang out here? I can hang out here while everyone else.
Okay. Okay, hold down the fort. Thanks.
Visual about the on task and off task behaviors. So I like the observation form and the way that it was broken down into those steps.
I like that one too, and the fact that it has the explicit teaching strategies as well as the group and the individual student responses.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of what we're working on to try to improve tier 1 instruction is just helping teachers properly institute the workshop model. So
yeah,
this would be helpful with that.
I think you look for that, but just having it structured makes you look for it more, and having it written out. I don't know. I just like the way that it lays it out to pay attention to specifics that way.
Yeah, I like that too.
I was looking at the school level checklist for integrating data on 73, then the district one on page 74. What I like about it, I think it's so important to know at the district level, kind of keep a pulse check on what, because I think we have ideas of what we're thinking is going on. But a lot of times when you survey or you do a pulse check, there's a discrepancy. And what I love most about it is when we get into action planning, like I've seen some action planning worksheets and they have like 8 steps. And I'm real big on quality over quantity. And I like when it's 3 things, because usually that's what you can do well. And I'm sure 13 things they need to be done, but we can't do all 13 well right now. So I like that they only give you space to do 3. And I think that's what people and teams can manage.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I was at a conference Tuesday that the presenter talked about that. What is the one thing that you can concentrate on right now and do it well, instead of trying to do 1,000 things that probably won't get done well.
And is it that we kind of have been trained to think or feel like if we're not doing a lot, we're not doing a good job, kind of?
Yeah. And transitioning from the principal role to a district level role, I think it's more so that too, because you want to make sure, like, you got to look like you're doing XYZ, versus when you're in the building, you're automatically doing like 5,000 things because you're dealing with so many people. But here that seems to be kind of like a thing to make sure it looks like you're doing certain things.
So I lean toward the reading tiered fidelity inventory for secondary level on page 78 through 80. And it's I mean it's twofold because it's a good one because it hits different areas and it talks about content area reading and that attention, but it also because it's currently what I'm working with, giving support to I'm K through 12, but my immediate support is for the secondary level and the high school and the middle, and making them understand that just because it says literacy, ELA doesn't just own that word, but every content area has the literacy language.
Right.
And it has to come to life, and and the things like it says, like the content area strategies, and it marries all the things that need to take place in terms of literacy skills, so that ELA teachers are not the ones saying and holding the bag for everything, because that's definitely not effective, but it's also unrealistic.
So in today's meeting, I've heard a lot about secondary, and that makes me very excited. So I want to ask you, Dr. Quattlebaum, are we seeing the effects of, not, you say classroom to classroom, but before, when there was not such an emphasis on middle school literacy and high school literacy, are we now suffering those consequences of not having those things as strong in place as they are at the elementary level?
So it's funny that you said that. I've always felt that the things that are discontinued when it becomes secondary, like the some of the magic that happens on the elementary level,
She was in hold on.
Becomes like you put it away because it's elementary. But they're just as much needed on the secondary level. So when you say, are we seeing? Yes, we're seeing we're seeing the effects of if we drop best practices based on quote unquote that it's elementary, and forget that it is simply best practices. It's best practices for K through 5, is for 6 through 8, and so on. If we do that, then our students suffer, because I also give the support for the interventionists at the elementary as well as the secondary. And there is no set of strategies for elementary, and then there's a whole, some of them are more cutesy, as my middle level peeps say. But if you get down to the meat of it and just get to the strategy can be used for secondary. So I think that's what we are seeing that.
And I don't want to eat up too much airtime. This is a great conversation for me, because I remember when the idea was introduced, and I think I even did a district professional development on rotation stations of blended learning in middle school, and it was called That's So Elementary. But it was kind of how I moved my students. I mean, and I was like, that is elementary. Why would I do that? But that was the way that I was able to move my students in the middle school level. So that is very interesting that you would say that, because those interventions work.
Yeah. Well, one of the conversations that we're having, sorry, my tutoring teachers, they're crazy. So one of the conversations we, though, have been having with intervention is that we're noticing with some of our kids the dependence on the teachers so much. And so then the older they're getting, they won't do anything independently of quality work because they've been so dependent on intervention or so dependent on having somebody to help them. So that's one of our goals this year, is to, although they need that intervention time and we need to give them the attention they need, we also need to teach them how to go back and apply it, because we've had some conversation with the middle school, and they're like, we don't have all the support and the help and the time and things that y'all have, because we're lucky we have a ton of interventionists to help, but are we over supporting them to the point that they're not doing it independently? So that's been a huge focus for us this year, is how can we push these kids to grow and be academically where they need to be, but also to go back and do it by themselves. And so we've taken time out of each morning to do intervention, but with the focus of, okay, but then when it's
How's the chat going?
It's good. The one room I'm in is, they just love their time. And I don't think they're all from the same district, but they've just like connected. So I
So
could be
why is
wrong.
no one signing up under my name? Is it, I wondered if it's because, like, do they think, I don't know. Maybe they're just comfortable with who they were with. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we need to find another job for me because kind of wah, wah,
Wah, wah.
wah, wah.
Sorry. Okay, let me close rooms.
I think we have good timing though.
We're waiting on a few more people to return. Oh, here they all come. They got probably forced out now.
I was on mute, Audrey. Okay. All right, so are we ready? All right, so now, again, we're gonna take a moment to reflect on the what and so what about the information that was presented in chapter 3 and the discussions that we had today and during this week's book talk. So, as you do this, I want you to also think about the now what. What will you respond to in today's book study? What action steps can you take to enhance MTSS in your school or district? So now at this time, take out 3 Post-it notes, or you can just draw 3 places on a piece of paper and write 1 action step on each of those 3 posts or in the boxes. Like for an example, an action step might be that I might take time to collaborate with my school's MTSS teams to complete the MTSS SAM tool. Okay, and looking at domain 4. So that's just an example. So now take to write down your 3 action steps and then decide which of these steps is going to be your first step. Okay, so we'll give you a moment to do that. And then after you've decided that, just jot down one of your action steps in the chat. So we'll give you a couple minutes to do that. And you're welcome to jot down your action in the chat box now. Okay. All right.
I'm going to unmute myself and just share. On page 75, the Reading Tiered Fidelity Inventory, I think is a fantastic resource for district leaders to really work with your school leaderships to show them how all of the things that are listed there are really what the state is providing in terms of the support we need, that schools need, and the things that they need to think through in terms of their reading program and doing it effectively so that we ensure Tier 1 instruction is at its highest, and we're meeting the majority of the students. I was so excited when I started looking at that checklist because there's so many things. It's like, yes, that's what we're getting in place. That's what we're putting in place. So definitely check that out.
Yeah. And thank you, Audrey, for bringing that particular to everybody's attention. All righty, so now, so just looking at the comments in the chat, we see that there are a lot of similarities with your action steps. So each week we'll take time to create a new action steps that serve as an action plan for reaching your MTSS goal. All righty. So now looking at our reminders before we end today. So our next virtual meeting is October the 21st. Here we want you to read chapter 4, and then you're going to use the protocol Say Mean Matter and complete domain 4 of the SAM rubric. Okay, so here is the Say Mean Matter. As you're looking at this chart, as you're reading chapter 4, use this protocol to record your thinking. Say, what does the text say? What does the say mean? And what does this mean matter to you? Again, we will use this protocol to guide our breakout room discussions, and we have a link to the Say Mean Matter protocol on your digital agenda for easy access. As we wrap up, we ask that you take about 5 minutes to complete the exit ticket for today's session. Your feedback has been very helpful in ensuring that this book study meets your needs as you and your colleagues support MTSS implementation in your district and schools. We thank you again for spending a few minutes of your time today with us. And the link, of course, the link you will find will be located in the digital agenda. And be sure to complete the exit ticket as attendance will be documented for the book study through this exit ticket. As a reminder, participants who attend all sessions as documented by the exit ticket will receive 12 renewal credits as, at the end of this book study.
All right, so each year the South Carolina Department of Ed offers districts the opportunity to participate in the Leaders Making Readers Summer Reading Camp Symposium. This full-day free event provides districts with a variety of sessions designed to enhance summer reading camps throughout the state. This year, the symposium will be held on February 17th. We hope you'll be able to join us. So as usual, we want to thank you for this opportunity to learn and grow together. And we look forward to our next meeting. And until then, let us know if you need anything.
I had go on mute for a second because I was talking to someone. Did we had a survey that we had to complete before finishing? All right, let me go look.
It's on the interactive agenda.
Okay, all right, thank you.